Okay, this is Count Dankula. He's kind of a Sargon of Akkad type. He's one of those right wingers. He probably calls himself a centrist, for all I know. And he's the type of guy who's antithetical to men's rights because they hide behind this free speech. I'm such a principled person. I'm for free speech. But you know that it doesn't make any sense when they never talk about hashtag Me Too being bad, right? They're not for that. You know why? Because free speech, they can try and put it under gender neutral terms. And you can't do that for hashtag Me Too. It's that simple. So this guy, he's going to talk about what? This feminist campaigner charged with a hate crime, right? He's going to try and virtue signal and say, we stand for principles and we're all right. And this person who's for hate speech, we'll defend their position. But simply that these guys don't want to fight women, which is what they have to do to fight for their rights. Because these free speech laws, these hate speech laws, are designed really for women to shut down guys. Now let's get into this.
Yet another Scottish person has been arrested for things that they posted online. Because unfortunately, especially after the last hate crime bill got passed, Scotland is one of the most authoritarian countries in Europe. And the funny thing about this one is she was arrested and taken in question to the exact same police station I was when I was arrested for Nazi Pug. So it's in Coatbridge, it's in my neck of the woods. Feminist campaigner charged with hate crime. A leading feminist campaigner has been charged with a hate crime for posting allegedly homophobic and transphobic material on social media. Marion Miller from Airdrie was charged under the malicious communication.
Before he goes on, let me explain what's going on. There is an internal war in the feminist between intersectional feminists who like to use the LGBT attack dogs to go after guys, the average guy like Dankula here. And then there's the TERFs who hate men so much they don't want to deal, they don't want their attack dogs there. They want them strung up too. They can't stand the gay men or the bisexual men or the trans females, right? Because they were born men. And it's a skirmish between these two factions. And Dankula, of course, is one of those guys, one of the many, many guys who want to try to buddy up to one side or the other, which is ridiculous because it's like an argument between the skinheads and the KKK and you being a black guy. It doesn't matter what side you buddy up to. They both hate your guts. They agree on the most important thing, that they hate your guts. These feminists hate men's guts. So being buddy with one of them is useless.
Act for tweets posted in 2019 and 2020 and could face 2 years in jail if convicted for tweets. It is understood one tweet included a picture of a ribbon in the purple, white and green of the suffragette movement. Apparently the police were claiming that the ribbon was arranged like a noose, and that's why the tweet was threatening. I haven't seen the tweet myself, but I doubt that. Miss Miller.
I doubt it as well. But it doesn't matter. What really matters is that this one woman, the only reason she's being arrested is because other women are after her. Otherwise, she wouldn't have. These hate speech are meant strictly for the guys. Once in a while, a woman, in this case, when that got out of line, gets zapped.
Who has autistic twin boys and who runs an accountancy firm.
Well, hold it. She has twin boys. And she's in a firm, she's an accountancy firm. So this is another thing too, is that these women these hate-filled people who hate men to their very souls, they're part of a hate movement, but that doesn't stop them from getting jobs, does it? in high position jobs. And you know something, there's something desperately wrong with the male psyche, because guys will partner up with these same women who hate their guts and produce male children with them. And trust me, Dankula here would be the exact same. He would marry a feminist and have her in her life and have sons with her. There's something really wrong with the male psyche.
Accountancy business was bailed to appear to Glasgow Sheriff Court on July the 20th. It's really weird that they're not using Airdrie Sheriff Court, but they're taking it to Glasgow instead. She is a supporter of sex-based rights for women and opposes simplifying transgender self-identification.
Yeah, she doesn't want the average guy to just come up and say he's a woman and then gain female privilege, or at least, I would say more accurately, have some resistance to female attack. But of course, sex, what was it? Sex gendered rights. That has to be stopped, period. Because it's either, it shouldn't exist. You know, since sex-based rights would be for both sexes, right? So it'd be for all people. So for it to exist, it can only be for one sex at the expense of the other. Now, Dankula here is not going to say anything about that.
Her critics claim she is a trans-exclusionary radical feminist, or TERF. After a 2-hour interview at Coatbridge Police Station, I hope she had legal counsel, she was met by supporters, many wearing t-shirts with the "Women Won't Wished" hashtag she promotes. She tweeted later, "I've been charged, I'm absolutely gutted, I can't describe in words the stress this is causing me," and yeah, having a charge hovering over your head where... And basically the way things in Scotland go now, like if you get charged for that, you're getting found guilty.
The thing is though, why is she so upset from laws that's been around? Like Dankula himself will say these laws have been around for a while. So she should expect this. Why doesn't she expect it? Right? Because she knows as a woman it's not meant for her. These hate speech laws are not meant for her. So when she gets attacked, it really is a surprise. And again, so Dankula trying to put things in gender neutral terms, like saying, you know, this is just affecting people in general, Scottish people in general, is a false frame. It's a bad one. But he's doing it because these guys are afraid of warring with the opposite sex, which is what men have to do on a political level now. They have to if they want their rights entailed. Look, all these guys, are they against Me Too, hashtag Me Too? No, because you can't be against that without saying absolutely that you're against women. You're against women's privilege to throw men, well, not necessarily in jail, but to make them lose their jobs. So again, I probably said this earlier, that's why he talks about speech, speech laws and the rights of speech, because he can put it in gender neutral framing.
They've managed to structure the laws in such a way where there is massive grey areas where the conviction rate for that charge is, I wouldn't be surprised if it was 100%. Marion Calder of For Women Scotland, which campaigns for sex-based rights, says that the police's decision to press charges had been incredibly disappointing. It's also a violation of your human rights under Article 10 of the European Convention of Human Rights. But whenever you bring that up to the police, they waffle and go, well, technically it's not because Section 2 says, yeah, nonsense.
See, why would you argue with the police? Why? That's the last thing you should do. If you really want to make a difference, you protest in the street. You deal with political activism. This is what these guys are about. It's him like showing off and saying, to the police, this guy has this thing against the police, even though the police are just a tool for the women who want to get after this guy. So he's going to be blaming everything else but them. The police, the state, maybe even communism.
She said Marion is naturally upset that the police have decided to press ahead with charges. The past few weeks have been a nightmare for Marion and her family, and it seems there is no end in sight. Sadly, in Scotland, it seems both free speech and women's rights are under attack.
Why are women's rights being under attack? As far as I see, it's only free speech. It's supposed to be her free speech. So for women's rights to be under attack, the suggestion is obvious that women should not be arrested for anything. So it's, in other words, if men, said something against these people and it gets zapped, it wouldn't be against a man's rights, This is the only thing you can, this is the only conclusion you can draw.
It pains me to say it, but Scotland is not a free country. We don't have freedom of speech here. One of the most basic fundamental human rights, we don't have it.
It depends on who you are. As a woman, you have far more freedom of speech than you do if you're a man. Can you put hashtag kill all men? Can a woman type that in a platform on Twitter or something? They probably can, can't they? So Dankula, you're avoiding the gender issue here. And who really doesn't have free speech? The only reason this particular woman was attacked because she said speech against what other women don't want to hear. I bet if she said something brutal against men, like a group of men, she could get away with it. And she probably wouldn't have been charged. I put money on that.
The government has taken that right away. Freedom of speech is not protected.
Yes, I called it. The government has taken away. The government, Dankula, is just a tool. The women took your right away to speak, to say anything that they don't like. And the government, and like I said, is just their way of doing it. That's the tool they used. So he blames the government, of course, because he's too scared to deal with the source of the problem.
Apparently, American tourists were actually being warned about when they come to Scotland.
Yeah, I hate this like nervous laughter bullshit. It's like the bully telling you that he's going to, insinuating he's going to beat the crap out of you after school and you giving nervous laughter. That's what this is like. Let's give him a bit of a head.
As that money, you're not getting legal aid, but also we're going to demand that she appears as a witness against you in court. Because you're in a relationship with each other, but your relationship is not strong enough for us to use her as a witness against you. Our justice system's absolutely broken. Police Scotland confirmed that a 50-year-old woman has been arrested and charged in connection with the online communication offences. That was very nice of them to confirm that they have in fact violated her human rights. It added she has been released on an undertaking to appear at court at a later date. A report will be sent to the Crown Office and Procurator Fiscal Service.
So she's been released. Okay. We'll see what happens if she does any jail time.
Miss Miller has not been charged under the recent hate crime bill passed at Holyrood, which she campaigned against. That's amazing enough. But I thought we needed all these brand new hate speech laws, because all these things weren't covered yet. She's been charged under laws that have been there for a while, but laws that still need to be scrapped nonetheless. Now, I don't know much about her opinions. I'm going to guess that because she is a feminist, there is a lot of things that we would disagree on.
See, this is what I'm talking about. She's a feminist. You don't know what her positions are. She's a radical feminist in particular. Feminists have been around for decades. The kind she has been around since the 1960s. Everyone knows what they stand for if they're willing to admit it. And there he goes with, well, I guess I would disagree with her, or I wouldn't agree on everything, or whatever. Can you imagine a black man saying that about the KKK? saying, you know, the KKK, I'm not sure what they stand for, but there's probably a lot of things that I would disagree with them on. Yeah, like the KKK wants you swinging by a rope, and you disagree with that. No kidding. No other group gets treated like this. You know, the obvious is this is a hate movement and they're awful people. And I want this hate movement scrapped. And I want these people punished for their involvement in hate movement. Just like the KKK and the white nationalist. This is what Count Dankula here should be saying. But look at him. He's just such a coward.
You know, maybe her opinions on, you know, the gays and the trans, you know, I've got a feeling that we would disagree on a lot there as well.
See, now he's virtual signaling. The gays and the trans, I probably wouldn't agree with her. He's basically saying, intersectional feminists, I'm on your side. The black man saying, hey, KKK, I'm on your side. I disagree with you with those skinheads that you guys are fighting with. Can you imagine if the KKK and the skinheads were fighting amongst themselves, and so a black guy said, "I'll just side with one, and maybe befriend one and get protection from them"? This is what is going on here. He's hoping to get protection as a man from the intersectional feminist, from the radical feminist, saying, "Look, I'm a good little servant boy." That's what he's saying. I'm a good little servant boy to you girls.
But despite all of that, she still has the human right to say these views, post them online, talk about them, campaign for them. That is the human right of freedom of speech. If you don't like her views, then counter them with your own speech. But
this is bullshit too, because radical feminists have called little boys scrotes, that's short for scrotums, and have hashtag kill all men. No, I don't agree you can say just anything on a social media platform. I disagree with that. These social media platforms don't want people swearing if they can help it. You know, so what makes you think I want hate speech against me as a person? And this Dankula guy, I trust you. If it wasn't for the fact these were women, if there was a gender neutral group, a true gender neutral group, he would be against this speech.
by arresting people for, you know, speaking out against your ideology, you just make your ideology look weak. I mean, basically, if there's an ideology...
This is posturing. Feminist ideology is not weak because they get these laws passed and have got them passed for decades. They're the most successful ideological movement in human history. So it's not, he's posturing. And he's begging too. He's begging these women, like, come on, you're so weak. They can put hashtag kill all men. Try putting hashtag kill all women. See what happens. It got erased. We know that for a fact. YouTube will not allow you to say something negative with the word woman involved. But it will do it for a man. So it's not just canceling people's free speech. It's canceling certain people's free speech. So this isn't a free speech issue. It's a gender issue. Dankula.
That arrests and charges dissenters. It's not an ideology I want. It's not an ideology I want. Even if I heard nothing at all about the ideology and someone went, they arrest people for speaking out against them, I'd be like, that's all I need to hear. Nope, that's a no from me. Don't you want to hear about it? Nope, don't want to hear about it.
See, your ideology of man hatred is weak. Since if you say you hate men, well, and you don't allow someone to say anything against it, well, you've got a weak ideology, and I won't support you. But he does support them in the end. He does support them in the end.
don't want anything to do with it. If it arrests dissenters, it's a failed ideology because it's so scared of people speaking out against it.
It's not failed because they're afraid people speak out. They're not afraid people speak out. They have the power to silence you. That's not the same as being afraid. These women have gotten shit done legally, politically, for decades, for generations. That is the epitome of success.
You know, it's like a boxer saying he's the greatest in the world, but then he refuses to fight anyone.
Wrong metaphor. That's like a boxer saying he's the greatest, punching you in the face, and he's able to punch you in the face because you leave your arms hanging at the side. And then if you regain consciousness, then you get up and make fun of him after he leaves. That's the proper metaphor for this. Dankula knows he's powerless. He doesn't want to deal with this. He doesn't want to put up any real fight. Like, again, that's why you've got here, these right-wingers go on constantly about free speech, but then they shut up completely for #MeToo or anything else that is obviously specifically gendered. So this ideology is a complete success. Feminism is a complete success. Do you understand that, Dankula?
It's like, I've got a feeling you might be lying. But yeah, I'm sick of my taxes being wasted on absolute crap like this.
Knew it. He's a libertarian, right? So he's just a resource hoarder. You see, he's not upset that these women can shut his speech down. He's upset that his money that he needs to bribe some woman into his life is going to something else. Or maybe it's going to another man, but you're just all about the taxes, right?
Sick of the Scottish government constantly violating human rights. And
there you go. He's blaming the government, just like I said. The government is a mere tool. That it is not the source. It's not the engine or the fuel that's making these things happen.
And then just getting away with it. And you see people in the Scottish government all the time going, oh, but China this and Russia that and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you violate human rights too. You can't talk. Like, you have a cheek to talk. You're always violating human rights. You're arresting people for offending people. Offense is something you have absolutely no control over whatsoever.
But what you're leaving out is who's offending who. Actually, it's not offense. The only offense that's really going on is that the women are offended that you exist. They use the term offense to attack you with. And again, it only works on certain people. This turf is only getting zapped because other women, the intersectional feminists, which is other women, got upset with her. They're able to get after her. Dankula, do you think you could get after her? I mean, I know you're going to say, oh, by the way, I'm too principled for that. But the simple case is you could at least try and see what happens. I bet if they saw you, a guy, going after this turf, they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't arrest her.
Right? There are a lot of emotionally unstable people out there. There are a lot of them. And
that's nonsense too. It's not because they're emotionally unstable that they can, take away your rights to speak. Not just anyone can do that. These feminists, some of them are unstable, some of them are very level-headed. But they get what they can get done because they are women going after men. And men in the government are fine with that, and women in the government are fine with that. The government is merely made up of men and women. And that's why this is happening.
anything that comes out of your mouth could offend them. You could walk up to one of them and say good morning and it could offend them, right? Offense is probably one of the most uncontrollable emotions. And as everyone talks about, it won't create a chilling effect. It won't create a chilling effect. It has. It already has created a chilling effect. People are now too scared to talk about their views openly and in public, which is the point of freedom of speech.
Depending on who you are. If you're a woman and you want to trash a man, you have complete authority to do it, even though the laws are there. I don't think a man like you could get a woman arrested under hate speech, right? I suspect these hate speech in Scotland, they're probably under, specified groups. I suspect you guys are not a part of those protected groups, right?
People are now too scared, and if that's the country that you want under the SNP, then, keep voting for them, but it's not the type of country I want. I want people to be able to, even though, she's a feminist, so we would disagree on very many things, she still has a right to freedom of speech, just like everybody else, right? That's the point of rights. They are equal, they are universal.
But they aren't equal, not universal. Because these women have the right to spit on men and not the other way around. So Dankula, again, he's trying to make this all on one boat. Oh, Scottish men and women, we're all in the same boat. You're not. You have fewer rights than women. Women have greater rights to free speech than you.
Unfortunately, the Scottish Government and the SNP don't feel the same way. And the reason for that is we don't have freedom of speech in Scotland. A very important, fundamental, basic human right. We don't have it. The Scottish Government has taken that away from us because they don't want us questioning them. That's the end goal. It always
blaming the government again. This has nothing to do with the government not questioning. This woman you showed, this TERF, is not questioning the government, is she? Is she? So why are you going on about the government? She was after protected groups in the LGBT. That's why they're cracking down on her. So Dankula, that this is about women and men. It's not about the government at all.
that was what happened in China. That's like, everybody thinks that
Okay, now he's blaming China.
China just happened overnight. It didn't. There was baby steps. They didn't just wake up one morning and go, right, all the rights gone, all the food gone. Nah, it didn't just happen overnight. It was little baby steps. The first laws regarding speech in communist China were
there you go, communist. He's blaming communists now. It's China and they're communist, and that's why. He's comparing apples and oranges. China and Scotland here. The crackdown on free speech for the countries are totally different. This one is obviously gendered, and the one in China isn't. The feminist movement is just starting to ramp up in China because China is just beginning now to become a first world country. But so you can't compare these two countries and what's going on.
Basically, see, even though China is a big place, there's lots of ethnicities in China, and the first laws were to stop racism and discrimination between the ethnicities, to preserve social harmony and stability of the great and mighty China. And then those laws got expanded and improved and enhanced and modernized, and now you cannot criticize the Chinese government at all. You will go to...
Exactly. But that has nothing to do with Scotland, does it? Because this woman, this article is not a woman who's speaking out against government. So this is a bait and switch on your part, Dankula, and it's nonsense. Okay. I'm going to look at the comment section just before we go. And look at this, the left eating their own. Again, why these guys always, this is how you tell the right wingers. They just want to attack the left. These feminists are not left nor right. They don't belong anywhere in the political spectrum. They're right-wing feminists as well. So this guy's too scared to deal with it. Now something will change. Can't have females being arrested by the mans. DHR, where you fail is that females can be arrested by other females. The mans, the government and the police, they're just the conduit for it. So, these females can be arrested by other women because women rule. Let's see. The sooner everyone realizes the government is not in anyone's best interest. Now, the guy blaming the government, of course. And then there's this guy mentioning turf wars. So they're back and forth. You'll notice there's a lot of back and forth where they admit it has something to do with feminism, and then they go on about the government. Now, this particular thread is part one, kitchen jail. Mark, you and the Free Speech Boys need to show up at her hearing and support her. Imagine what a coup de grace that would be. So this guy wants this guy to support someone who hates his guts. And these guys know nothing good is going to come of it. But the coup de grace is the final blow. That's suggesting you have someone defeated or on the ropes. It's the other way around. The irony would be amazing. Dank, please do this. Now, Mighty Merlin, you see, I've thumbed up. Cringe. Why do you think supporting people who hate you is an epic own? Man, God, thank you. He just put it in a nutshell. It's coping mechanism and desperate hope. They're hoping this way. These guys, this radical feminist hates men more than any other female in the world. That kind of woman, and they want to try and support her. It's like a black man who's in love with a white man who's not white nationalist. And the white nationalist saying, I want to hang you, boy. And the black man saying, well, if you only knew me, I support you. I love you. Oh, God. Oh, they'll realize that what we're all about, if we stand up for free speech for someone, they'll say, I do, ever heard the phrase, I disagree with what you say, but I would die for the right to say it. I hate this posturing. They only say this for these gendered issues. I guarantee it. These guys, it's already been shown they'll stop everyone, their enemies' free speech otherwise from other groups. Now let's see. Down here, Merlin, you are very naive to think, if you still think these people can be convinced. Anyone who could be awakened already has been. And he's right. And if you want to awaken someone, they got to be a third party. A radical feminist isn't a third party. She is the immovable. She's the KKK. So, but Mighty Merlin is wrong about their naivete. They aren't naive. These guys simply do not want to fight women. And that's why it would mean to fight for the rights as people. Right? And that's why, again, why the only time you hear them fighting constantly is for free speech, which they can try and put in neutral terms, gender neutral terms. Because something like, again, Me Too is so gender specific, they would have to admit it. These guys don't want, that's the point, be the better man. This is a real slave-minded mentality. Real slave-minded. These are the kind of guys who believe in the hierarchies of men. Just take it like a bitch. you know. Don't fight back. Anyway, look at Transformers 2 Fam 1. It would show her that her allies don't actually give a damn about women. Assuming she hasn't figured this out yet. This guy is virtue signaling to the girls. I care about women. But the thing is, this isn't about women. This radical feminist hates men. She hates you, Transformers 2 Fan 1. You see? So I mean, he wants to be allies. He wants to support the radical feminist who hates men the most. To say, oh, look, your allies. I could see if this was reversed. Like if he was saying it to the trans community, like trans women and gay men, these TERFs aren't your allies. I could see him doing that, but he's got the cart before the horse. Oh my God. Oh my God. And here's another one. Last first, it's great thought. It might plant some seeds of doubt in a few, but socialists are pretty well insulated from reason, sense, and logic. So he's blaming the socialists. These guys do it every time. They're right wingers. They love the capitalism, but this has nothing to do with those. This is a strict gender issue. Oh my God. Seriously, this should happen not just for irony. It wouldn't be ironic. Feminists talk out of their arses. See, this guy's talking about feminists. The guy who said socialist, this guy's talking about feminist. See, they're going back and forth. They would still defend their rights to do that. Also, we also have the right not to listen to them. So can you imagine? We don't have the right to listen to them. But they're changing laws in government. So simply shutting your ears does nothing. Oh my God, this is insane. Feminists arrested for hate crime. See, he's admitting it. He's calling them a feminist. Oh my God. See the back and forth? Like these guys can't help themselves. They reveal themselves all the time. Anyway, the end point is that these guys are antithetical to men's rights. They're hostile to other men from their inability, their lack of desire to fight back, to fight for themselves. All they do is try and, like these guys who wanted to, he suggested they support this man-hater. That's what they want to do. They're like the Jew at Auschwitz, who's buddy up to the Germans, hoping he won't be thrown into the gas chambers. This is terrible. This is the last thing. When they should be talking about planning an escape. This is what these guys have to do. And yet they're completely against it. Man, there's something completely defeatist about the male psyche. Men are just cowards by nature and laydowns. Anyway, Dankula, I disagree with everything you have to say. I disagree with your ideology, sir. Goodbye.